We really hope you like this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe to get more content like this. Hi, welcome to the Need to Know Comedy Show, and thanks for joining me, Ed Byrne. How are you, Ed?
I'm good. I'm just trying to put you on full screen. That's all I'm trying to do. There it is, right there.
Oh, cool, great. I have to wear glasses.
How do I look?
You look amazing.
Bit more light.
That's beautiful, beautiful. I like your job. Well, it's far away, but it's beautiful. So Ed, how are you? You grew up in Swords.
Swords. That's right. Yes. You know, my dad worked at the airport, like a lot of people who lived in Swords.
Oh yeah, because it's handy. It's near the airport.
Indeed, indeed.
And so then you went to Strathclyde University. Is that correct? What were you study horticulture? Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. The only other place you could study horticulture, do a degree in horticulture, would have been UCD, which was 2 buses from Swords. So the commute was actually easier to Glasgow. You know, you just get 1 bus to the airport and then a plane. Yeah, and then it takes about the same amount of time. Traffic was really bad in the 90s in Dublin. So yeah, the commute from Swords to Glasgow was about the same as it would have been to UCD.
Oh yeah, well in the 90s there were no motorways in Ireland at all.
Pretty much, there weren't. And also in those days, if you were from one EU country and you went to university in another EU country, you got your fees paid for you by the European Social Fund.
Oh, cool.
I think that's still the case, but obviously it would no longer work if you were going from Ireland to the UK.
No, well, you know, it actually doesn't matter because my daughter is in university and she can't go to her university anyway, even though it's in Dublin. Just to do everything from home. So you could probably do the same thing, just to stay at home.
Is there some relief in that you can now keep an eye on her, that she's getting the university education without any of the worries that you as a dad would have about your daughter heading off to university? Quite win-win.
No, I don't want to be keeping an eye on her at all. I mean, she's probably safer at university than with me. So
that does not reflect well on you at all.
I feel sorry for her actually, because last year was the first year in university and she was loving the social. She's studying art, like visual art. So she was hanging out with people of her own type, with piercings and dyed hair and stuff. And then it all stopped and she couldn't go out and have fun.
Yeah.
So I feel really bad for her, but she'll be all right.
Sure. I'm just noticing that between my lockdown stubble and your glasses, we're just turning into each other. This is
oh, absolutely. And this is my first time having long hair in really decades. But I went through the lockdown awkward stage where the hair would look like shit, and I kind of like it now.
Yeah. I don't know why, but there's a photograph of me on my desk here, looking so much younger and carefree. I think I might just put that to the camera instead. Look at that chirpy smirk.
Ed, you look very you haven't aged at all. You've no grey hair, and you wear glasses anyway. I'm new to glasses, you know.
You've really gone for a bold choice for someone new to glasses. You've gone from 0 to 60 in no seconds at all. You've gone, let's not have anything on my face too. Let's have some proper big NHS buddy
windshield wiper type. They should have, but they come from. They're not prescription. They're from Flying Tiger, the shop where you can get glasses for €2. I just lose them, so I bought the proper pairs and sat on them and lost them. So I'm going to go for cheap ones for a while anyway. And I'm not getting that fucking chain around my neck. So fuck that.
No, don't do that.
Okay.
What about the ones that go around your head and then they unbuckle here? You seen those?
No, I haven't.
On the nose piece, and then you put them there like that, and then back on like that.
Maybe. No. Sounds like slippery slope though to the whole chain thing. So, I don't know. And so you started doing stand-up in Strathclyde. You weren't commuting, were you? You were living there, right?
No, I was joking. Obviously not. No, I pop home every now and again. It's quite, as I say, because my dad worked for Aer Lingus, got the still got the old cheap flights all the way through my university education, so I was able to just nip home on standby every now and again. But yeah, it was doing horticulture. I used to work with my uncle as a gardener. I always fancied being a performer of some sort, but had that thing beaten into me from an early age of that's not a proper trade. That's got a proper trade. So I thought gardening seemed like a good plan. I'd worked with my uncle as a gardener, you know, laying patios, doing that kind of thing. So I thought, well, I got a degree in gardening, and then I can work for myself and then pursue a second career in the arts after I've got the garden to fall back on. That was, looking back, that you know, maybe I should have done something like TV production or drama or something, but that was not considered a proper job.
Oh, it definitely worked out. So I mean,
it worked out fine. But as I dropped out of the horticulture thing, and as I did a TV show with Jonathan Ross once, and as he pointed out, think of it, Ed, if you'd stuck with gardening, you might have your own TV show by now. Which
that's got, yeah, gardening became a big thing.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, I think Jim Gavin's doing better than I am.
Yeah, because of the globes, all that kind of stuff. But did you start doing stand up in?
I dropped out of university and I started doing stand up. I started my own comedy club in Glasgow. At the time, there wasn't anywhere to play. There had been clubs in Glasgow. There had been a whole scene just a few years before. There'd been a comedy club at a pub called Blackfriars, and out of that had come a bunch of people, loosely called the Funny Farm, but it was people like I'm sure you'd know, if not all of your viewers or listeners, but Stu Who, Fred Macaulay, Parrot. You know, I think Bruce Morton to a certain extent. It might have been before that. What's his name? Phil Kay.
Hey, yeah.
You know, they all came out of that sort of Blackfriars scene. But that was all, as I say, that was just a couple of years before. And then when I wanted to get going, there wasn't anywhere to play. So I just started up a comedy club and you know.
Best way to get stage time, start your own club.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you had Phil Kay as a young act.
Well, he was already known then. And he came down and he just did 5 minutes unannounced and was great. But no, at the time, the guys who were sort of very new would have been Ford Kiernan and Greg Hempel, who went on to become Still Game, which not massive in Ireland, not massive in the UK, massive in Scotland. The biggest sitcom in Scotland. Look it up. The biggest sitcom in Scotland, biggest comedy show in Scotland, Still Game. Massive. Yeah, like two old bastards, two old miserable Glaswegian pensioners. Even though these guys were younger, they played old and living in a council estate called Craiglang, a fictitious council estate in Glasgow. And it's brilliant. Really, really funny show. And they reunited and did a live show at the Hydro in Glasgow and sold it out for weeks. They sold more tickets than Monty Python when Monty Python did the O2.
Wow.
1% of the population of Scotland went to see that live show.
Right.
Seriously, that was that big. But before that show that you've never heard of, before that, they played my comedy club.
All right, good. But so that was like way of you getting on stage time, and then did you start gigging all around the UK? Then
I did. Well, I did a couple of paid gigs, student gigs, Glasgow Caledonian University and Edinburgh University. I did a couple of gigs.
Okay, right.
And then moved to London, January '94.
Oh, 94, you moved to London and started doing
the open mic circuit there. It was a great time to be getting going as a comic in London. There was it was a massive scene. You know, you could make a living and never go outside the M25. You know, it was just the streets were paved with comedy clubs.
Yeah, amazing. Like, and at that time, who was coming through from Dublin? Was that kind of time that Ardla Hannon was coming through?
Yeah, Ardle and Dermot and Kevin all were finalists in the Hackney Empire New Act competition.
Who? Kevin Gilvey and Dermot
Carmody.
Carmody. Oh yeah.
So they all came. They would all have been big. Well, certainly broke through onto the circuit. That in '94, and then the three of them did Young, Gifted, and Green at the Edinburgh Fringe. Dermot Carmody and Ardal O'Hanlon. And then so then the following year it was me, Andrew Maxwell, and Kevin Hayes did Young, Gifted, and Green too.
Wow. Yeah.
We very much were on their coattails, in fairness. They had done it, they had a very successful, I think, particularly because of Ardal, in fairness, but also because of Dermot and Kevin. It was a really solid show. And it really stood us in good stead then the year.
Yeah, I remember doing gigs. I wonder when that was that we did this ridiculous thing. It was called the Carol's.
Was it? There wasn't Lighten Up. No, that was Marlborough, wasn't it? Carol's.
I don't know. It's just called the Carol's Comedy Tour. But Carol's in Ireland is a brand of cigarettes.
Yeah.
That's no longer around, and it was the worst cigarette. But we were touring colleges and universities and giving out free cigarettes.
Throwing cigarettes at people. And Jason Byrne was emceeing and would finish the gig going, and remember, kids, smoke Carol's because they taste like sweeties.
I mean, it's nuts like that. You were giving out free cigarettes.
Yeah, but those were the days. I remember doing Live at the Comedy Store, which was the show for Channel 5.
Yeah.
In, again, 95, 96. And they, just to get that smoky comedy club atmosphere, they would throw free packets of cigarettes into the audience and encourage people to smoke because it just looked really good on screen, rather than having a smoke effect. Get the audience to smoke fags.
Yeah. And one of the acts got thrown off this Carol because Carol's tour because he took out a packet of Marlboro on stage.
Who was that?
It's Brendan Dempsey.
Did he?
Yeah, and
I did gigs with him on that same tour as well, Brendan. Yeah, I think I did a couple of those tours.
I think he took out a pack of Marlboro and lit it, and someone went, here, threw him a packet of Carol cigarettes, and he threw it back and said, they're shit.
Yeah,
I guess they have.
I understand the desire to be rock and roll and all that sort of thing, but once you're standing in front of a backdrop with a brand name on it, you don't get to rescue your artistic integrity by going, they're shit. It's like, no, it's too late. You've taken the money now.
Yeah. He probably knew. He probably thought,
this is off the cuff. He was probably just
off the cuff, and it'll get a laugh. Yeah. So, but tough old cigarette to smoke because I was smoking at the time, and they were really hard on my throat. Like at the end of the tour, you're like, "Hello, how are you?" Then when did you do your first Edinburgh tour?
As I say, did the Young, Gifted, and Green in 95. No, sorry, 95.
Yeah, but I mean your own solo show.
And my own solo show was the following year, 96. I did. It was called A Stand Up in the Making. I thought, and I remember having a plan. I remember the show was supposed to be like 45 minutes of jokes that I would then analyze and deconstruct. And it was, I guess Stuart Lee was probably doing that at the time as well. But I remember that was going to be that's what I was going to do. Only because I thought, I'm never going to have an hour of jokes by the time August 96 rolls around. And then by the time August 96 rolled around, I had an hour of jokes, so I just did an hour of jokes. The whole stand-up in a making thing just got, the whole theme, the whole notion of analysis, I binned it.
Oh, right. So you're just going to deconstruct your jokes for the last 50 minutes?
That was my original plan. Yeah, I had done it a couple of times, but I say just spontaneously, and it had worked. And I thought this could be a thing. And then I think I just didn't really have the balls, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, you did stand up, but that's probably
that was enough. I thought this will do. An hour of jokes. Let's not do any of the fancy shit. And I did quite well that year because the week before I had appeared, I had made my UK television debut. It was Jonathan Ross had a talent show called The Big Talent Show.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right when Jonathan Ross was sort of moving from Channel 4, that Saturday Zoo sort of thing, into the mainstream. But before he had the chat show and all, he had a few sort of mainstream.
Before he had that chat, he had a chat show at like 6 o'clock in the evening, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think. Well, I remember he had the one on Channel 4 and that, but it was before he had the Jonathan Ross show on BBC One. Before he became like mega big, and he was making that cross. And he did this talent show on ITV. In the days when talent shows on TV were just putting people on and not getting people on to slag them off, you know.
Yeah, no, I loved the. Well, there was one on Sky called Star Search.
Star Search, yeah,
and
where they would get some quite odd and bad people in and slag them off. There was a bit of that, wasn't there?
Yeah, but they discovered Charlie Chuck. Do you remember?
Yes, I remember that distinctly. Yeah, I remember Paul King of King calling him a genius.
Yeah, really. That's what my heart.
Yes, that chap.
Love and pride. Yeah.
Anyway, so I did that Jonathan Ross thing, and it was live. So it was live TV, and 5 minutes, and it was, you know, a decent open spot to the set, and Wayne, the singer, won. The singer won every week, I think, virtually. But it stood me really. It sold out the show. It was a free ad on TV, and I was only in a 50-seater venue, so that was that, and yeah.
Cool. And then did you come back then for?
I did it again in '97 and then in '98, and in '98 got nominated for the Perrier. And nominated. Tommy Tiernan won the Perrier that year.
Wow.
So whatever happened to him? Huh?
And did you have a theme then for each Edinburgh show?
Yes.
Yeah.
'97, the theme, it was called Psychobabble, and it was my most sort of artfully constructed, thematically consistent show I've ever done, I think. Yeah. It was called Psychobabble, and it was basically about psychology. And every now and again, I would sit on it, like I had a chaise longue on set, and the lights go down, and then come back up, and I'd be on it talking to an imaginary psychiatrist.
All right, cool.
So that was the most sort of, you know, trying to do something other than mere stand-up that I've done. And it did grand. And then the following '98, I did a show called The Night of the Opera, where I talked about going to an opera with my girlfriend and hating it. And I went through the plot of the opera, Così fan tutti, and slagged off. So the whole show was just me talking about the plot of that opera, and sort of using that as the framework for sort of jumping off points for stand-up.
Right.
And that's still probably, that was back in '98, and that's still probably the best show I ever written.
Nice one. Yeah. So would you tour them then for the
in '98? I did a small tour of Night of the Opera after the Perrier nomination. I was still on the circuit. But I did a little tour then, and then I think in '99 I went to Edinburgh just for 10 nights. With a show there. I think that was called On the Road, and then I toured that in sort of properly art centres, and then that was me sort of off the circuit. Yeah. And then I was sort of, it was a very steady sort of career trajectory. You know, in '99, I think I did like the Royal Variety performance, and I got nominated for Best Stand-Up at the TV Comedy Awards and things like that. And then 2000, I did a sitcom with Davina McCall, and I did that sitcom in Ireland, The Cassidys, in 2001, whatever, all that. And then about 2001, phone just stopped ringing. That was that. Yeah. I did the panel. I was doing the panel in Ireland. That sort of thing.
Sure.
That was about it. But in the UK, I was doing nothing. I did that Just for Laughs thing for RTE. That was all right.
Oh yeah.
But by and large, my career just around 2002, 2003, just disintegrated.
Oh.
I took my foot off the gas, if I'm fair. Stand-up wise, writing jokes. I don't know what happened. I just started to. I was no longer new and young, but I hadn't, you know, now I do a lot of stuff about being married and having kids and stuff like that. So it was between those stages, and my career just took a fucking dive.
Shite. And how did that affect you? Like, psychologically or mentally? Or?
Not really. At the time, I just thought something else will come along, and I was financially. I started doing ads for the Carphone Warehouse around that time, and maybe that would contributed to the sort of artistic dearth.
Yeah,
I'm doing all right. I don't need to worry because I was really doing all right.
And when you're like in that state, are you still gigging? Like you seem to me like someone who loves doing live comedy.
I did, but around that time, around sort of 2002, I moved up to, well, my promoter moved me up to larger venues on tour.
Yeah.
And I wasn't selling them, and it was absolutely soul destroying. Right, around that time, 2002, 2003, I was doing, like 1,200 seater venues to 200 people.
Yeah,
just fucking miserable.
Yeah,
and the show was fine, but it wasn't great either. I think probably. So yeah, it was quite the low point.
Yeah.
So that's just as I was turning 30.
Right.
Yeah. And then,
sorry, but I think when you're 30, turning 30, for me, felt like I was really old. Now, older than I feel now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's something to do with, particularly in show business. You see all these, hot 10 under 30 sort of things, or it just for some reason it's a milestone that the media particularly have delineated. That if you haven't made it by the time you're 30, then that's it. That's you. And
do you feel also you feel you can't be going out and doing mad shit for days on end because you're 30?
I feel you shouldn't, but that didn't stop me.
I don't think it stopped me, but well, it did. It did a bit, yeah.
It was probably sadder that I was doing it then, yeah. But yeah, so it just really. I'm not saying it completely went away. But it was just career-wise, the phone just stopped ringing.
Yeah.
And then I went back to Edinburgh in 2004 with a show that didn't win, and it was the first time I've been there, doing a full run since '98. And the reviews were not good. Quite frankly, the reviews were not good. Yeah. So that was like 2003, 2004. 2004. And then I went back again in like 2005 or 6 with a show called Standing Up and Falling Down, and that was quite well received. And then things just suddenly started to turn around. I also put it down to the girl I was seeing then, who's now my wife. Was a very positive effect on my life, I think. And I don't know. I think I just grew up and settled down and started writing about that. And so I haven't looked back. And then that was around the time I started doing Mock the Week. Right. And Mock the Week yielded Have I Got News for You, which is a show I'd never done up until that point. And, that. And then I got a second wind. I got like a second bite of the cherry.
Yeah.
And things have been great since then.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, it's very same thing kind of happened to Jim Owen. Jim Owen became a massive star in Australia.
Yeah,
massive.
It was huge. Yes. And I remember being in Australia, going out there in the late '90s, and he was like, somebody asked you what you did for a living, and you said you were a comedian straight away. Oh, like Jim Owen, like he was who people thought of. He was he was like Johnny Carson in David Letterman in Australia. Yeah.
And then did a tour, was booked to do a tour of the UK, and was playing to less than what, and seriously, he told me he was playing to 20 people. They would just put them in the bar of the theatre. And he did every gig. He went, did every gig, and kept doing it and built it up. It's incredible. I'm so admire anyone who's gone up and then dipped and then come back again,
Well, I don't think he ever went. He'd never fallen that far in Australia. I think it was just that he was massive there, and it didn't quite translate to over here. So he really had to build. But it takes a lot of humility when you're really massive in one country to then build yourself from nothing in another country, I think.
Yeah. To push through that, to go back down again and push back up. So it's cool. But Mock the Week then obviously brought you back up into the public eye. So
yeah. And as I say, I started writing better shows and that, I did a show in 2010, 2008, called Different Class. And then that was that was the first time Chortle even fucking noticed I exist at that point. Got nominated for best live show or best DVD or whatever for that one. Having been previously completely ignored by that industry website.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was nice to just be able to to be doing good stuff again.
Yeah.
And since then it's been great until now, because the show I was doing now, which is called If I'm Honest, is the best show I've done since Different Class, and it's just got kiboshed right in the middle of it. I'm supposed to be in Ireland right now. I was supposed to be in Dublin on the what date is it now? I was supposed to be in Dublin just on the 17th there.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
just on Saturday night was the plan. Would have been the last gig of like a 2-week tour around Ireland.
Yeah,
and great plans. It's going to be in Sligo, and loads of friends of me folks were all going to descend on Sligo for the night.
Shite, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's...
I think Andrew Maxwell as well had planned a tour of Ireland, and that's gone. But you've worked closely with Dara Ó Briain then for years. When did you meet up with Dara?
I met him, I think it was 98.
Yeah.
In might have been the Music Centre or somewhere like that, doing a gig.
Yeah.
He opened for me. Those were the days.
He opened for you?
Yeah. Back then, I mean, he started doing stand-up after me, I would have said.
Oh yeah, definitely. I remember when he started. Yeah, he was studying UCD, studying maths or something.
Yeah, but he was like a children's TV presenter before he was a comic, right?
Maybe an actual Gaelic in Irish.
You can't hear that, didn't he? Yeah.
TV.
But Echo Island and stuff, was that not before he properly did stand-up?
I'm not sure. I think he might have been doing the international.
Right. Yeah. Well, anyway, we just got on very well straight away. And then when he started coming over doing sort of hit and run stuff in the UK, when he was doing London gigs and that, he would stay with me.
Right.
And then he repaid me by completely eclipsing my career and stealing all the gigs that I would have gotten.
Yeah, what a bastard.
Yeah. Although now that I don't live in London anymore, I go and stay in his house when I'm in London. So that's
Oh yeah, okay. Where do you live now?
Well, I live out in Essex. I'm only an hour or so.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, I just
Right, yeah.
Can't be arsed coming home.
You've done a few of these kind of travelogue things with Dara.
We did a couple. We did 2 series together of adventure. I think we did one traveling along the Pan American Highway through Mexico and Central America.
Oh man, what's that like? Nice.
It was really interesting. It's one of those ones where it's like going on a trip and then having the best documents you could possibly have of it. Do you know what I mean? To be able to watch a documentary about a trip you went on is not something most people get to do.
Oh yeah, right. It's not just you on your doing selfies.
Exactly. Yeah. It is a great way to get to know a place, is to make a documentary there. It gets you access to a lot of stuff you wouldn't otherwise get. Right.
Yeah. And you every day you're working.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because whenever that a show like that comes out and it's trailed, you get a lot of paying for comedians to go on holiday again, are we?
Yeah.
And it's like, for the amount you get paid and the amount of time you spent working, it's like nobody ever goes, look, when Mock the Week or the panel was on, nobody ever goes, we're paying for a bunch of mates to hang out and get drunk with each other, which is what we were doing. Like, for the amount of work you're doing and how much you're getting paid, the panel was more of a holiday, or Mock the Week is more of a laugh than having to go away for 3 weeks at a time. That's actually quite sort of long hours, but just the fact that you're in another country, it's a
you just paid to go on a holiday.
Yeah, no, it was quite intense, and particularly the second one that we did. I don't think we didn't really enjoy the trip that much. was yeah.
What was that one? That
We went to Thailand and Malaysia and
oh.
Myanmar.
Oh, Myanmar.
Yeah, but it was just a, I don't know, it was a bit kind of, I'm not, neither of us, the other one was, it was good because it was a whole thing of we were driving and we were traveling this road and we were following this book that had been written before the road was built, and we were seeing how things were changed by the road. So it just felt like it had a reason and it had a point to it. Whereas this one was just like, why don't you just visit these countries and see what they're like? No, don't drive. We'll just put you in a van. Let's remove that interesting bit. You know what I mean? And it just felt like, okay. And yeah, I don't know. It just didn't seem to have the same level of reason to it.
And so you've gone you've done American gigs, have you? You've done
years ago. Again, that was sort of late 90s. I went over and did a bunch of things. I did a bunch of Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
Five, I think.
5, yeah.
And and went to LA and had meetings. Answered questions like, "Can you talk without an accent?"
Yeah.
To which, you just sound like an arsehole when you go, "I think you mean talk with an American accent." Don't you?
Yeah.
I don't think of us as having accents. So yes, but that's one of those things you can't just do like that. You can't just pop over and go, "Here I am," and then go home again and go, "Well, call me if you need me." You have to move there.
Right, and live in LA. And
yeah.
Were you there for the, what's it called, the sitcom season or something?
No, well, pilot season.
Pilot season.
Yeah, no, I was never, because February, that's a big touring time over. That's a big time. It's cold. No one's sitting in their back gardens or anything like that. People want indoor entertainment, and that's the time to provide it. People are just paid again after Christmas, and they're all coming out of their houses and into the open air again.
Totally,
February, big touring time. So no.
No, so you didn't do. And then preparing for a Conan O'Brien, is there a lot of work on what exactly you're going to do?
Yeah, it's actually really good. They really help you.
Yeah.
The guy, the segment producer, a guy called Frank Smiley, will spend like 2 nights before you're recording. You'll go around comedy clubs in New York, and he'll have already set them up, and you just go and do 5-10 minutes in like New York is one of the places where you can go, provided you're not worried about making money. It's a place where you can easily do like 5 gigs in a night and just traveling around. So you do that, and you would get the set down, and just know exactly what would work. So it was really, really helpful. And the one time I didn't do that, you could tell. I think the 4th time I was on that show, the first joke I did, I had to think about leg warmers. It just didn't fly at all. Luckily, I got it back in the second half of the set. But they were like, "Yeah, let's not have you just arrive and do a set."
Yeah.
It was the one time because I was at the Just for Laughs festival in Montreal at the time, and I had one night off, and I just went down on the night off and did Conan and went back again.
Right.
And I thought the time in Montreal doing sets there would be enough to get get it bulletproof. But it was, what worked in Montreal did not necessarily work in New York.
Right, and it's precisely timed, is it? It's like 5 minutes, is it? Or?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of time. I think it's 4.
4 minutes.
Yeah,
and you've got to get a good laugh rate.
Yeah.
And does the producer come with you around from club to club?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he came with. Yeah, it was 2 nights. Yeah,
that's really good though.
Yeah, I think he would have come from the recording of that day's show.
Yeah,
and we'd be with you to travel around the comedy clubs to just refine your set. I'm not sure they did that with everybody. Maybe they just thought I needed this.
No, I think again, I'm going to bring up Jamone was telling me the same thing. He did that. But the weird thing about what Jamone is, he's in a club, and Chris Rock was working on stuff for the MTV Awards. And then he turned out he just went with Chris Rock from club to club.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Did Chris Rock know that?
No, he followed him. Yeah. He just stalked him.
Yeah, no, I remember being at the Comedy Cellar one night and Chris Rock just showing up. And it's incredible, the balls, because when you're famous, people, really will let you do anything. But he like I saw Ray Romano show up at the same club, and he had the show Everybody Loves Raymond was on air, and he was a big star. But he still had notes, and he still trying jokes, and if they didn't work, he'd still make a joke about the fact that the joke didn't work. He was really trying. Whereas Chris Rock showed up and did 40 minutes, and at times just had nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was just standing there going, "Women, what do you want? Is it the money? I know you like them." And he's just, man, you're really just trying to just pull anything out of the air at the moment, aren't you? No, just absolutely fucking, you're starting from absolute scratch and just seeing how long you can talk before people went, "Do you have a joke, sir?"
Yeah, really. He had to do that
in a way that you just could if you were that well known, and if you were that, like, people were just amazed just to see you there. And I remember being astonished. I mean, I love Chris Rock, but the level to which he was just starting from scratch and not even with a half an idea and going, let's see what you think about this, and then you sort of thinking out loud type thing.
Yeah.
So it was just like, what else do we talk about?
Well, that does take balls, though. To know that you've got amazing material you could do, and bring the house down, but no, just stick with just ideas.
I'm not gonna do anything I've done before because I'm trying to write new stuff.
Yeah. Is that how, when you're working on the Edinburgh shows? Is it? Would you do little open spots or not open spots?
Yeah. No, but you go down and you do. There's a few clubs that you go to where you can go up, piece of paper in hand, and people understand it's a new act night, and they get to see a load of people who maybe they've seen on telly and they're only paying £3 to get in, that sort of thing, and that gives you a certain amount of leeway with, when you're really, when it's the stuff's really in its embryonic form. Yeah. And then once it gets a bit better, you might show up unannounced at a proper comedy club, where there's actual, proper stuff going on. Yeah. And then, then you work that up into proper 20 minutes, half an hour sets that you would then do at an announced gig. You know what I mean? So there's different levels to the to what when you can let people hear it and see it. Yeah, but you really actually develop a piece on stage. Like, would you have just bullet points, or would you have this is a joke? Well, I think of something. You think of something funny when you, in conversation, or something would pop into your head in the middle of the night or whatever. You write it down, and then you try it out next time you're at a club. Yeah, I mean, I rarely when on tour, I'll throw in a line here and there, and the jokes that I've got, okay, but I rarely just completely introduce a brand new idea during the show. Yeah. I'll try and keep it for the next one, and I'll try and just work that out in front of an audience. I say that haven't paid it. If people are paying £25 a ticket, I'm not gonna do stuff that I don't know works. That's So save it for then and try to then. I always feel like if I've got 45 decent minutes of stand up by sort of the end of June, then I'm happy. Mm-hmm. Because then over the course of July, that'll just become an hour, which I'll then take to the Edinburgh Fringe for August, and then in that time that'll work its way up. So that's now an hour and 20, which I'll take on tour with a support act for 3 months, and then from January that following year, I'll then tour it on my own, because by then it'll be 90 to 100 minutes. So that's the way. So I start off and it just grows like that. And do you ever sit there? Do you actually say, "Oh, I'm going to write now for 2 hours" or something? No, never do that. Never do that. I sit down and I move stuff about, and I go to clubs and I try out the bits, and then get them longer and better, and decide. And then, write more jokes. When you're trying to link from one to another, you end up just being forced to write a joke, and that can be even better than either of the jokes it's linking, you know what I mean? Right. But no, I don't sit. That show that I did in '97, that Psychobabble show, that was probably the only one where I scripted it out because of the nature of the show. But other than that, no. And do you listen back to your? Occasionally, yeah. There was one. Yeah, there was a joke that I had that used to work and then just stopped working, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I just went back and I listened to a recording of early on, and I realized the word I changed, and then changed it back, and then it worked again.
Right. Yeah,
It was just a tiny, tiny word. It was to do with small victories and the little things as you get older, having to pat yourself on the back for the little skills that you've learned, for the little, the small victories and that. Like, for instance, the fact that I'm very happy that at the age of 48, I finally developed the skill of being able to recognize when a cramp is going to happen and stopping it before it does. Just get into the mind, like, get that feeling, oh, not today, motherfucker, and all that.
Yeah.
And it used to work, and then it stopped working. And all that had changed was I'd stopped using the word recognize and changed it to knowing when a cramp was going to happen and stopping it before it does. And it stopped being funny.
Wow. That's
it was really weird. Because I think it just didn't make as much sense. Because if you know a cramp is coming and then you stop it, then it wasn't coming. You know, something, I don't know what it was, but for some reason, the exact phrasing, the joke just didn't work anymore. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong with the joke. And I just went back to an earlier recording of it. And I was like, recognize when I grab it. No, that's funnier.
That's the word,
Yeah, really. And it's the fact that even now, those tiny little things make a difference, and you're still having to figure that out. You know, you can be talking to somebody who's been doing stand-up as long as you have, and there's 50 years of experience between you. And you'd be talking about a joke, an idea you've had that you haven't tried out yet. And you'd be like, oh, that sounds funny. Let me know how it goes. Because you wouldn't know if it was funny yet or not. Until it's on the stage in front of an audience, you don't know if it's a funny joke or not.
Yeah, you don't know until it's in front of an audience. Absolutely.
Yeah. Don't you think we would know that by now, though? Don't you think you would have? And it's like you never know. And you'll have a joke that you think, or you might have a joke where you think the punchline's hilarious, but you actually get the punchline and it's not that big a laugh. But the setup that you thought was just a setup is where all the laughs are. Doing the setup and dropping the punchline. You know, it's so weird the way that'll just happen.
I know, it is amazing. And I know Stephen Wright used to have a gig or a joke about, it was a sign that said, we serve any breakfast anytime, and he ordered French toast during the Renaissance. That was fun. And then he said, he used to say, some other breakfast during another era never got a laugh.
Yeah.
But it had to be French toast during the
Renaissance.
Yeah. So,
do you ever see a comedian do a joke that you've seen them do 100 times, and then they've changed it, and it's not as funny anymore? And you want to say to them, why have you done that? Sometimes comedians just like to tinker, or maybe they get bored of it, and they'll take a joke and they'll just, and it's the one you might love seeing, and then suddenly they just change it, and you can you've made that joke worse.
Yeah.
Do I know them well enough to say something?
Yeah. At the same time, you do maybe have to change a word or two in a joke to refresh it for yourself. Do you feel like, Well,
I guess you do, but sometimes that's for your own personal, you're putting your own personal pleasure or your own sense of boredom before the audience's enjoyment, which I think not necessarily the best idea.
No, probably not. Well, maybe just for a night or two, just for yourself, and then get back to it.
Change is as good as a rest.
And so I've read that you write for a hill walking magazine. Are you into it?
I did. The Great Outdoors. I haven't written an article for them in a good while. I've started doing a podcast now, a video podcast.
Oh, yeah?
Called Ed's Ventures. I've only done the first 2 episodes. I haven't launched them yet.
Oh, cool.
Of going walking up hills with celebrity chums and interviewing them.
Do you like hill walking? Or
big into it. Yeah. So, nice. I went to Pembrokeshire with Rod Gilbert, and I've been to the Lake District with Stuart McConey, and I'm going to the South Downs with Desiree Birch at the weekend, and then I'm going to the Peak District with Hal Cruttenden. It just sounds so random. Once I've got 4 of them done, I'll start putting them up on YouTube, and then just see what happens with it. Just you gotta keep busy, don't you, during these times?
Absolutely.
Content.
No, I know, I'm similar. I like getting out and walking and running and all this crack now.
Where do you walk?
Oh well, around Loud there are loads of places. There are loads of woody type walks down by and all the way. You can go along the Boyne for absolutely hours.
Right.
You might get. I've gone with shorts on and just got stung to pieces.
Yeah.
But there's a nice tingling. Now you begin to enjoy pain after a while. Nice tingling.
Eventually, it'll be all we have, Joe.
That's all we have.
It'll be the only thing we have to make us feel alive.
I'll just get some lady to slap me with nettles on my bare legs.
No, I enjoy the hills. I find a flat walk just a bit too boring. I need to go for either a cycle or a run if it's flat. But if I'm walking, I like there to be an incline.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll just give it a go then. Going up. I did do a run up a hill in somewhere in the UK. It was an interesting thing. Have you ever you run up an incline, but it's coming down. These guys are really good at it. Have an amazing skill of just bouncing down.
Yes. You got to just stay really light on your feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've actually find coming down the hill, I like to sort of jog. Even if I've walked up, I like to sort of just jog down. It looks like I'm fell running, but with a massive backpack. Because the strain that you get is from slowing yourself down. So if you just speed up a bit, it's actually, I find.
Oh well, yes, true. But I have a spirit that my foot would just go in a rabbit hole or something, and I just.
I'm quite the daredevil. You know, that's one of the things I'm known for.
You always were. But listen, it was really nice chatting to you. And now I'm going to ask you: is there a comedian that you would like to, that you've worked with that recently or in the past that you'd like to recommend?
Oh right, yes, there's loads. I'm trying to think of somebody that maybe people haven't seen, because all the people. By the time I work with people, I think I've discovered some, great hot new young thing, and then there's they were on QI last week. I know. Sorry, didn't realize.
But even someone that I can get on.
Somebody you can get to talk to, you mean?
Yeah, someone I'd like to talk to. But someone I can get to talk to. I mean, you were very nice to come on, Ed.
Oh, well, I'm happy to oblige. I feel like I've been put on the spot, and I feel like you warned me about this question, and I completely suggested it. Yeah,
I did, but I mean, take your time. I mean, it doesn't matter.
I quite like that guy. It was Senan Byrne, is it? He does a lot of. Hang on.
Senan Byrne.
Yeah, hang on.
This is like. Jimon did the same thing. He's going, I like that fella. What's his name? And I had to look him up. So it was his favorite comedian, but he couldn't remember his name.
I don't even know if that's your name. Senan Byrne, Senan.
Oh.
Byrne. He just I mean.
You just
it already dates because I'd say he does stuff on Vine.
Oh, yeah.
But he does very funny online videos.
Senan Byrne, yes. So brilliant. I'll chat to him. Yeah. No, do you do anything on TikTok or anything like that? No?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Oh no, you know what? No, I don't. But I did post a few things on Twitter of me arguing during lockdown. I started arguing with songs that would argue back. It started off with Wilson Pickett's "I'm in Love," where he goes, "I'm in love," and I go, "No, you're not," and then he goes, "Yes, I am," and then it just sort of went from there. People started recommending other songs that I could argue with, so I'm doing that a little bit. I might start doing that again.
That reminds me of something I was, time is on my side, and I'd rather someone go, "No, it's not."
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's one of those things. It's an amazing number of songs that do it. Simon and Garfunkel, I'd rather be a hammer than a nail if I could. No, you wouldn't. Yes, I would.
If only backing singers would do that more often.
Yeah, so I've started doing that. I say I started. I haven't done it in ages. I might start doing that again. But generally, no. Generally, I shy away from these short form online gear. I'm too old for it. But as I say, this hill walking podcast means that I have effectively retrained as a YouTuber while pushing 50.
Class. Fair play to you. But yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that. What's that going to be? What's that called?
It's going to be called Ed Ventures.
Ed Ventures.
You'll be able to find it through my website.
All right. Listen, thanks a million for coming on and having a chat with me, Ed. And it's been a long time, but you're looking great. You haven't changed a bit, Ed.
It's nice to talk to you. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. And hopefully that tour will happen again. And
Indeed. Yeah, we'll get together. All right.
All right. Good luck, Ed. Bye.